What up, hustlers?
At the time that I made that switch, I also started doing event production. And then in that space, I learned a lot about organic marketing, word of mouth marketing,
Cool, man. Nice.
using uh, social media street teams and actual on the ground street teams and flyering and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I ended up deciding that I didn't really want to make my money in the music world. I wanted to keep it something that, I just kind of wanted to keep my music and make money elsewhere.
Of course,
And
you want to rock
so
out, enjoy yourself, but earn a bit of coin elsewhere.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I guess diversifying my investments is a good way of saying
Definitely.
it.
Yeah. Hey, Amanda.
Um,
Definitely, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda. But I want to, from there, I looked at my experience, and since I had built a couple of my own projects, I had built a couple of promotional channels. I really wanted to uh, build my own company. I wanted to have the flexibility to
Cool.
manage my own time and design my own life. And so switched to starting a company. My original offer was brand management. And then
Yep.
over a few months, I realized that there were some elements of that it just felt like busy work at times. And so I focused in on something that I was actually able to be of direct service in a much more concrete way. And
Cool.
from there, my offer has focused in further.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, that's it. It's all about making that shift where if you set yourself up with something, if as an entrepreneur, we always have to be willing to pivot what we're doing. So, if we're not really committed to an idea, I mean, sure, we've invested a bit of time and possibly money into it, but we always want to be ready to be able to pivot and change. And that's, one lesson I learned the hard way, dropping 40K in an old business where I didn't validate the market. So, from that, I learned a hard lesson, if you'll call it, a very expensive lesson, but it's just
Yeah.
about pivoting and shifting.
Yeah,
So
I've
for
been
sure,
there.
man.
I've been there for sure. Not, uh, but it's really important to uh, what you said about validating the market is really important. It's really important when you're taking a product to market to get an awareness of where the market is at. And as myself as a musician, it was so easy to just be like, "Oh, it's creative. I can do whatever I want." And so that's been when I've been
Yeah.
going into the business world. It's something that I've been realizing, like, um, okay, I need to actually make sure that these ideas work. Otherwise, at a certain point, I'm going to have to make these pivots. And a lot of it has come from actually like doing personal alignment checks and saying like, is this what I actually want to be doing? Is this how I want to live my life? And from there, shaping it
Absolutely.
from there and fine tuning. So I think that's a really important piece, but it's got to be balanced with this with the sense of awareness as to what a responsible business decision is.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah, no, that's cool. Because I mean, sometimes with validating the idea, talking to 100 people isn't enough, and it's really something
yeah,
that if you're going to jump into something, then absolutely. If it's something that I'm big on really focusing because I've always tried to be innovative and making something new, but I'm starting to realize that reinventing the wheel is something that is going to be expensive. And it doesn't always necessarily mean you're going to get from A to B unless maybe you got like VC funding or whatever. So if you're just going to, focus on arbitrage that's, already been validated and it's already an idea that's working, then absolutely you can move forward with it because the idea's already been done for you. You know it's working. You can follow other people's footsteps. You can spend time and really focus on what you're going to basically just mimic what they're doing and then tweaking it for your own benefit. And so you can add your own, I guess, personality to it. Yeah, so really it's just absolutely 100%, man. Like, it's really about trying to figure out how we can move forward without wasting time or money. So, I completely agree with you.
yeah, and it's really essential to go through that process. I don't know. Have you ever heard of a book called The Lean Startup?
Yeah, man, I have. I haven't read it, but yeah, I definitely know of it. I should have bought it well before I started my, the last one, but but no, it's good. I've
Well,
heard really good things.
it's really important, and it really informed the way that I structured my business at the beginning because it was like, okay, well, this is the idea. Well, let me go out there and actually like get a first client and dive in
Yeah,
and see if I'm able to make it work. And so that was I was recommended the book years ago by somebody who I have a lot of respect for, and just that mentality has really affected even a lot of like the stuff as an event coordinator in the music world. Just running these projects really lean, and it's gives extreme flexibility. I mean, in some ways you're limited because you might not, like, I've been doing things on rather tight budgets at times. Yeah, Amanda, that's also a great way to do it when you're making a reference or an analogy to something similar. And so you can say, this is similar to insert whatever relevant experience that your target audience might be having. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, thanks. Hey, Cody, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and the Lean Startup, it really does give a good framework because, I mean, although I haven't read the book, I've looked into it, and yeah, 100%, like, it really does set up a framework. And there's another one called the $100 Startup, which doesn't set up as much of a framework because it's more for those that are still in the 9 to 5, but at least it really, solidifies that you should be starting off lean opposed to just making something really, big and shiny and making it perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. So if you can at least start with even a few $100 to start off, like I build websites, that's my main bread and butter. And there's a few, friends within these networks that I've built sites for. And when I first started only a few months ago, because I always had like a side business of building sites, and that's all good, but now going in full time, networking was really where I found most of my business. Like, before I actually started spending money on ads, and that cost nothing. Like, I spent so much time and money in investing in myself to learn about coding and how to actually move forward with doing such things. But in regards to the actual building of the business, because any money you put on yourself to learn a new skill, I don't find that, that's awesome. Like, but if you're spending money on a business and the business doesn't go anywhere, then it really is it's not a waste of money, but it's a very expensive lesson that you're going to learn. But what I did was I networked. And so to start off,
and I've made those mistakes too. I just want to hop in and make that clear.
Yeah, we all have.
Yeah,
we all have.
I had a bad stock investment a couple of years back that it was a big US-based solar manufacturer, and it was like $11 a share and then $4 a share, and then my money was gone because they went bankrupt. But maybe not the same scale, but I've definitely put myself out there once or twice, and so I really think it's an important part of the process. Like, people have to be willing to take some sort of risk, especially, I mean, ideally they have the capital and are able to, but when people have a little bit of flexibility and are able to extend themselves a little bit, even if, like, I will say that, like, for example, I've thrown music events and I've lost money on them, and for me, it was still a massive win because I established relationships with booking agents that I still have relationships today. And even though I like technically lost money, I made enough to cover all my like responsibilities. Like, I lost money on like flying an artist and stuff like that. But the thing is, that investment allows me to have relationships with industry professionals. And so it might have been and I'm sure that you feel like with the work that you've done, you have learned a lot through. And this is kind of an interesting thing, like, the idea of fail forward, like, obviously be respectful and be honest and transparent about, like, if somebody's watching this and they're thinking like, oh, cool, well, I'm just going to go out there and get a client and I'm just going to fail at everything and I'm going to then get good. Well, like, be transparent about that. And, maybe price yourself appropriately. But yes, but go, like, be like, look, I'm learning this. I definitely need to make something for my time. Like, here's all these resources I've been studying. These are my notes. This is my ideas, how I can help you. Go out there and get that client.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
But just be, with the sense of being transparent and honest. And anyways, kind of a bit of a side ramble.
Hey, man. Well, look, I mean, that's what it's about. It's just really about having conversation and learning about, you, but at the same time, that's what this is for. It's a bit of fun, like, so we can, just have a bit of a chat and see what's going on. And, it comes down to that, where if you're going to invest in a business, you built relationships. So then the question ultimately comes, if you lost money initially, it's like, well, what's the ROI later on? Like, what did you learn from that? So, I had a different business years and years ago where, And unless the marketing was shit and I wasn't aware of anyone else, I believe I was the first person in Australia to offer basically a subscription-based protein service where you pick how much protein you want, because
wow.
health and fitness was massive here in Australia. It's still big, but it was bigger a few years back. And so you pick how much protein you want, and then you pay a subscription, and then each month that gets sent out to you. And I mean, a few do it now, so I'm going to think that come back to the whole me trying to be innovative. But
but that's still a good idea,
yeah.
especially a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And it didn't end up working out because I put a stop to it, because it ended up being that, with all the red tape with food and things like that, I didn't want that. So in this case, it's a digital product I sell.
I believe Australia actually has a really strong regulatory environment for business owners. Sorry,
definitely.
I don't know if we want to dive into it, but
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I was getting at. Like, with what the question coming back to, what did I learn? Well, when it came to customs and importation about foods, I learned heaps. Like, yes, it was a 10K lesson, but it was still something that I was willing to fail forward. And that's the thing. It's about being transparent. Hey, Jelena, thanks for tuning in. So yeah, it's certainly about just failing forward. And because you hear so many stories of, people getting interviewed on Forbes and Entrepreneur and all that. And, 100% one of my goals is to be featured on Forbes one day. Like, and Entrepreneur as well. Like, that's my big ones. Like, who knows, 10 years, 15 years, I don't care. But it's going to happen. But my point is, because I tend to ramble a bit, but
there
we
are
want to be
ways to do it
transparent.
quicker than that.
Oh yeah, no. Look, I mean, I will do it.
I'm not the
that.
expert,
like, it's just...
by the way, on that one. But you can do.
Well,
you can do it
I'll tell
quicker
you what
that.
I'll do. I'll hold you accountable. I'll make sure that within 6 months, I've at least reached out to, I know we'll say 7 journalists from, combined from there, and we'll see if I can hook it up. And then 6 months, I'll be like, hey man,
can I give you a quick action tip? Can I give you
Definitely.
a quick action tip? Okay, before
Absolutely.
you reach out to, so you're obviously going to want to kind of tier your entry point when you're looking to get published. So you might want to find like a low mid tier publication that's in your target market. So then you can go from there to there to there. But before you do that, find 3 guest blogs that you just show up and you can do more if you want. It's not going to hurt you to do more, but get a few guest blogs. And on some sites that are reputable, respectful, that may just be like your friend's blog, or maybe like some random person from a group, and start to show people your writing and like actually get published. And then from there, you'll be able to, let's talk about micro goals. Can we talk about micro goals?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So what? That's an example of a micro goal where you start here and then you build it up to the next one, and it's not that big of a step. So you start at like an entry-level blog, and then from there you go to another one, and then another one, and then you go to the next tier, which is the next micro goal. And you can apply this mentality to anything. So you just break down.
Absolutely.
So if the goal is to exactly. So if the goal is to get yourself to establishment, fill in the blank, all you have to do is say, okay, well, what is the process? Let me just reverse engineer that. And you can really take that process of reverse engineering and then creating micro goals for each step and apply that to really anything that you're doing. I mean, maybe with some like examples that wouldn't be a good fit, but it's a really powerful tool for
definitely. As a generalization, I think that's an amazing tip, not just for me to utilize, but for everyone listening to this Facebook Live and then later on the podcast. Like, absolutely, it's such a generalized tip that can be applied to so many areas and industries. And micro goals are awesome. Like, having goals is such an important thing, because not many do that and they fail. It comes back to, you hear all these success stories about people that have been, say, featured in Forbes or whatever. And they're like, yeah, look, we've made, multi-million dollars this year, but there's no discussion about their failures 4, 5, 6 times prior to that. So, being transparent about it and really focusing on that 100%. So no, great tip, man. I really appreciate that, Elisha. And I think all the viewers will as well.
Of course.
So let's get in a bit more about your business. So who's your target market? Who do you serve? I'd love to know more about that.
Sure. So my primary offer is a direct response Facebook lead generation Specialists. So to break that
That's a
down a little
mouthful.
bit, and then yeah, I also do copywriting and marketing strategy on the side, but primarily
Cool.
what I do is I help generally service-based business owners that have a fair amount of information. I'll share some examples in a second. I help them
Yeah.
generate leads for their business using Facebook advertising. And
Cool.
so the direct response part, that means that it's all like every single action has an objective, it's defined, it's able to be in some ways predictable. You obviously have to run the campaign to get your original data and to get your numbers and then to start split testing. But you can kind of sort of know that these are the standards and this is where you're going to be looking for. And so that's a really powerful tool when leveraged correctly, because you're able to kind of suddenly, if you have a dialed in sales process or sales nurturing process, you can have a predictable cost per acquisition because you're able to know that you are always able to get your lead for this much, and then you can take them from point A to point B for that much. And so that it can be really powerful if it's done right for building a business and building an audience, especially when you take a look at some of the stuff like retargeting features on Facebook, where you're able to show people who have engaged or interacted or opted in. You're able to show them content repeatedly, and so that's pretty much the primary part of my offer. Copywriting is the process of using the written language to drive results, generally in a sales context. But that is, I apply a lot of copywriting theory especially when I'm writing ads for clients, and go through a process of customer, chatting with the client, figuring out who their target audience is, going through their marketing materials, and going through a decent amount of marketing customer research so that I have an understanding of exactly what it is that I'm going to be saying to who. And then it's really just a matter of taking the ad and split testing it and bringing people's cost all the way down so that they can actually have results that are within their budget and predictable, et cetera, all the good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all about looking at those metrics and seeing what actually is working, and then you can tweak it to then bring that cost down. So then the return on investment, is massive. And let's dive back into retargeting there, because I think that's something that the successful entrepreneurs do, but it's something that it's almost like to those that aren't really affiliated with it, they don't really know much about it, and it seems like it's more just a buzzword more than anything else, whereas retargeting is massive. Like especially the last few years, the technology that's come through, but email retargeting is awesome. So if you just what you can do these days with it, and the fact it's just built into a lot of things is even better, like ClickFunnels, Shopify, and you get a few different plugins for that, and it's so cool that you can just retarget people and just keep doing it until they buy.
Yeah. And so that's definitely a big benefit on the e-commerce side. And so I don't know if you heard before, I said that I really like to work with information-heavy clients. I know I kind of that was kind of tucked in there, but I really want to highlight
just slipped it in.
Yeah, I really want to highlight though, because when you're retargeting people with information-heavy products, you can do really cool stuff where you're both simultaneously educating the market, building the know, like, and trust relationship, as well as delivering your brand messaging. Oftentimes, if you're doing it with the right medium, for pretty cheap. And so it's really cool when, and that's the thing with lead generation, you're kind of more taking them along a customer journey towards. It's generally going to be towards a sale, but with information-heavy products, they're not going to be clicking buy on that first ad, like an e-commerce campaign. I mean, e-commerce campaigns can get complicated, but
we've all been there. It's a pain in the ass.
But the thing with lead generation, and the thing that I love about it, is you're able to educate the market, and I think that in our world nowadays, I mean, I'm in the United States, and there's a lot of need for just good information. And So the thing that's nice is when I find a project that's in alignment and that I'm excited about supporting it, I can actually simultaneously not only help this single business, I can actually be a force to educate the market and help people kind of just like from here, like just in my own little box, in my own little part of the universe, I'm able to actually have impact. And I'm really excited for that to scale further. And there are some specific industries that I'm pretty excited about supporting where I'm able to actually do that to I have this idea for a campaign that if it can scale nationally is gonna and anyways but it's gonna be really good for the industry and you know I want to highlight kind of building on what Amanda just commented there, good information can set a marketer apart, which is actually kind of a sad fact. I completely agree. And the thing is, a lot of people with copywriting, which is, if you're watching this, and I'm not sure how many people are watching, but if you're not sure what copywriting, it's really the process of writing to get results, generally with sales. So with that, so many people try really, or they write great copy, but it's oftentimes like you see a lot of these people, they're trying to like be the most creative, and they get very, very
hey Elisha.
yeah, and so
now we got Elisha on Tuesday. Sorry to cut you off there, Elisha. So she's actually a copywriter
cool.
as well. I'll be interviewing her on Tuesday, so she'll be able to dive into all this, all your points in so much more detail. So I'm looking forward to that.
Perfect. So I'm not going to dive too much into it, but I just think that there's a lot of people who really focus on like creative copywriting, which is really great and it's really powerful. But I think a lot of people completely forget the power of just like telling the facts, informative copywriting. And so I want to give an example. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Eugene Schwartz?
I have, yeah.
And so. Yeah, Eugene Schwartz. And so he was a copywriter, and he was recognized. He primarily did book sales. He would write the sales pages for books that would go out in direct mail, and people would sign up and buy the book. And what he would do is he would read the book 4 times, highlight every single line that stood out to him. He wouldn't think it if it in any way, shape, or form he thought of it should be highlighted. He would just be like, choo, 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 choo. And then he would give the book to his secretary. Nowadays, he would copy and paste it, but he would give the book to his secretary, and she would make him a brief. And then he would sit there with a notepad for 33 minutes at a time, and he would have like maybe 2 or 3 of these sessions a day, 33 minutes at a time, no more, no less. He would have a timer, and he would sit there, and he would just start to juggle all the pieces together. He wouldn't actually really write anything. He would just take all of these highlight lines and then create a piece of sales copy, and he might bridge stuff together and maybe add in a little bit of information here or like rework a sentence, but it was much less creative writing and much more technical, just like actually using the language of what it was that he was marketing. And so I think that a lot of people when they're copywriting, they forget to actually and I'm going to share one more example and then I'll stop. I like copywriting. It's fun. Have you ever heard of David Ogilvy?
I've heard the name, yeah. But I wouldn't be able to give too much info on him.
It's okay. So David Ogilvy, they say that Mad Men, the TV show, was modeled after him. He started an advertising agency.
That's where I heard it from, because, I watched that recently.
Yeah, and so he started an agency, Ogilvy Mathers and something. Sorry, I should know this. But anyways, he wrote a headline. One of the campaigns that he was known for was for the Rolls-Royce campaign that he was on. And he published this headline, at 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the Rolls-Royce was the electric clock. And it's like, it was a really responsive headline because it put people directly in the vehicle. At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the Rolls-Royce was the electric clock. So it showed you how quiet and smooth the ride was. And in fact, he took that headline to the board, their first response was, "We need to get that clock fixed." So that tells you what their attention. Now, here's the thing about that headline. he didn't write it.
Yeah.
It was a direct line from the technical manual. He just did his research.
Okay. Perfect.
So, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, no, well, that's an awesome insight. Like, and it just goes to show that if you can give just a small piece of content that is direct, it is just going to have a huge impact on your business. And that's why, it's so important to put effort into it, even if it is just research. You don't have to be creative.
Yeah.
And the creative side is awesome, but yet at the same time, there's really two sides to the coin. So, and they're both going to get results because you flip that coin, and either way, it's going to land. So it's, it can really be beneficial either way. And there's better ways to do it, and so forth. Hey, Chris, thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly, Elisha.
if you want
Good
me...
example. Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, sorry, cut you off there. A good example of how the meaning changes depending on the audience. 100%.
And
sorry, Elisha,
I think,
you were saying?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to know the audience too, and not only know them, but to learn how they communicate what they're interested in and speak to the benefits that you're offering to them in their own language. This is why surveys are really powerful, and customer reviews and testimonials, because you can actually reference them and start to build your language from what people are actually telling you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, that's it. It's so important to be doing that. So, this is awesome. I'm really enjoying this podcast. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a bit about, just say, what advice would you give to those that are, say, newer to the industry, and they're looking to start up their own business? So the internet's cutting out a bit there.
One more time. Do you want to say that?
That's
one
all
more
good.
time?
I'll edit this. Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do as well, I'll edit this audio later, so that way it's a nice, smooth podcast. Yeah,
sure.
So basically, for those that are new to, not necessarily your industry, but just new to the entrepreneurial world, and you were saying before about, being able to work behind a screen, from home is such a massive thing that, the nomad lifestyle these days, especially for so many in this group and similar groups, is amazing. Like, I work from home, but if I absolutely want to, I can take my laptop and just take it somewhere along the Wi-Fi and work from there. I might not even be wearing pants right now, like shit. I am, but so it's really just from starting out, what advice can you offer to those from the listeners that maybe are newer to business, or maybe they're newer, or they're just established maybe the first year? I know a few have asked to tune in on this just because they'd love to know about that. So I'll tag them in after this so they can get the value from it.
So I would say if somebody is just starting out, I would say the first thing that you're going to want to do, sorry, I have something in my throat.
That's cool, man.
I wish I had a glass of water right now. Anyways, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make an offer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but figure something out and try it. You're probably not going to do it well, and just be open to feedback, be open to critique, try it out,
Cool.
Be willing to pivot. Don't emotionally attach too much too early, and just try out different ideas and execute. There's a little brain hack that I like. Try is not one of my favorite words. I like to say, if I was saying I'm going to try to do something, I like to say I'm going to do my best to do it. And cool. So, just take that mentality, do your best in each moment, be self-aware enough to the point where you recognize if something's working or not, and adapt and pivot as appropriate. But, I would recommend getting more specific. Like, if you're trying something and it's not working, but you really want to do it, instead of doing something completely different, I would say, how can you get more clarity on that? How can you find out which little parts worked, what you can double down on, and what you can improve? If it's something that you're just doing it because it's I want to do a thing, but this is the trend that people are doing, then no, check with yourself and do what you actually want to do. But
exactly, you got to be willing to pivot.
Yeah, but having the self-awareness and then market research, really get to know your market, get to know your audience, and listen to what the feedback is. And no response is feedback. So just be genuine, be direct, be specific, be honest and transparent. Help people out, solve people's problems, and you'll always be able to figure out a way to take care of yourself.
Definitely. And sometimes it's hard to get honest feedback, because if you're trying to get feedback for something, people want to be nice. They don't want to, unless they don't know you, they really don't want to do that. And I'll say, look, for something, give me feedback on it, like, be honest. And they're like, oh, look, man, I don't really want to like be harsh. I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, tear it apart. Like, just absolutely rip it to shreds. I want to know what you don't like. I already know what I like. I don't need you to tell me what I like. I want to know what you don't like about the idea. And that is going to be the best feedback that you can get. And we can't please everyone, but at least if the general consensus is all saying, we don't like this one specific facet of your business or your business idea or your business plan, then focus on that. And then, all right, well, the general consensus is that I've got to change that. So I've got to pivot it slightly to change it to appeal to the masses. And, certainly we've got a niche,
I want to expand a little bit, and
jump
I
in,
want to
man,
say
definitely.
on the subject of niching.
Yeah, in the States, you guys say niche, but in Australia, we say niche. So it's just purely an Australian / US thing.
Well, you're hosting, so we're niching down. And, and so
cool.
when you're
Tomato,
doing that,
tomato,
you
my
really,
friend.
yeah, right. You really want to, let's see, what are we saying here?
Amanda says, 100% agree. I've confronted people about tiptoeing around their truth. Nobody can ever grow if it's sugar-coated. Definitely, Amanda, 100% agree. You're awesome. Amanda is like #1 fan. She always tunes in the live videos, so I appreciate you so much, Amanda.
Yeah, seriously, thanks for tuning in. And so the nice thing about niching down is that you're able to have that sense of clarity with and it's also becomes increasingly scalable. So if you hyper focus and you're doing the same thing for the majority of your clients, if not all of your clients, then you're able to actually deeply serve them, because you're able to actually duplicate a process and be able to get those predictable results and be able to be like, look, I can do this for you every single time, and I can do it and then you can start to go multi-market and say, like, well, I've already done it in this region, so I'm going to do it in that city, in this city, in that region, in this one, in this one.
Just duplicate it.
And exactly. So when you're pretty specific, you're able to duplicate it. And so, that's why I have a primary niche that I'm pursuing. But I also have other ones that I'm ideally available for. But the thing is, getting the results from that primary one will allow me to get really duplicatable results. And specialists get better clients. And I've been a generalist. I spent the first 6 months of my business as a generalist, and
you need to be. When we're starting out, we're really like wherever the money's coming in. It's more just when you're starting out, you can't sometimes afford to niche down. It's more just a case of, if there's a client there, we're not going to be picky. We're going to just say yes. And then over time, when we can actually afford to pick and choose our client base, then we can move forward in the direction we want to go. But sometimes it's unfortunate that from the reality that, from the game we're in, we can't from day one say, I'm only working with this specific type of client. And if you've got the savings behind, if you're going to live the 9 to 5 and you've got savings to do that, then you can. But it's also about learning on that journey, because you might have a specific target that you want to focus on, and then halfway through you think, well, shit, like I'm actually not enjoying with this target, but I've had a few clients in a different target market, and I actually enjoy working with them more. So it's just about finding. Definitely, jump in.
So that's actually pretty much exactly what happened to me. Coming out of the music world, I thought that after managing my own brands as well as managing some of the promotional channels that I made, that I was going to offer brand management. But I realized that there was just you could only have so many of those clients, because it was actually really time consuming and demanding those clients. And I wasn't at a position where I could get the contracts at the time. At least I didn't believe I was in the position, whatever, self-limiting beliefs and whatnot. But I didn't have I didn't have the portfolio to get the contracts that I wanted to, and so I spent time doing work that I wasn't like, I really loved the project, but I didn't like the work that much. And then I went through and was like, okay, well, what do I actually want to do? What is it that I like doing? And I wrote down everything that I actually was doing. And if it wasn't of high value to me personally or of high value to me professionally, it immediately got crossed off the list, taken off my website. I actually transitioned from that client soon after in a very healthy and peaceful way. But it's allowed me to actually greater serve other clients and get much better results since then. And have just like that first client was somebody that was in the startup phase always. They were just mentally always kind of in a startup phase. You can take that how you will. But so it was just challenging to do work like that. Whereas since then, I've had such specific objectives. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is the goal. And here's how we're going to get it done. And this is what your role is. And everything just got so much easier and so that's why I've continually like niched down and gone from brand management, which is really abstract, down to Facebook advertising and copywriting, down to direct response Facebook advertising with a focus on lead generation, and like just getting really granular with it. And then I could even, like, if we wanted to, I could dive in and talk about like who my ideal clients would be. I don't think it's basically information-heavy, service-based industries, but I can not necessarily the focus of it right now. But that sense of clarity really allows you to be like, now I know exactly who I serve, I know exactly who I help, and how I can be most helpful to them.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's it. I mean, it's all about just kind of figuring out who you want to work with. That's the ultimate thing. It's how you can fit your lifestyle, how you can have autonomy, working from wherever you want to work, and working in an environment that you're happy to work in. You know, it's coming back to a Facebook Live I did the other day about mental health. It's about being happy with who you are and what you're doing. So, you know, if you're not enjoying your day-to-day, you're not going to enjoy the rest of your time, because let's be honest, we spend most of our day working. So, you know, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, I heard a funny anecdote the other day, and it was basically I wanted to quit the 40 hours a week so I could work, what was it, like 90 hours a week for myself. Yeah, but it's true, you know, if you're putting in
I've gotten better about that. And that's the other thing.
Work-life balance is important.
And as I've niched down, I've actually started to work with businesses that work in a 9-to-5 structure.
Oh, great. So, that's perfect.
Right.
That's actually perfect.
But I'm able to know, well, if I need to get in touch with one of these clients, then I'm going to have to pick up the phone and call them during these hours. And so that's been something that's been nice. I'm still like, I'm just excited about these next few months and this next chapter for my business, because there's like, I'm in this middle ground where I just have all this clarity and understanding, and I just know exactly what the next steps are. And I'm like, kind of my like one leg is just like halfway through the jump man across the canyon, and I'm just like in this super successful mode, like, but I'm still like in the middle of that jump, and I'm really excited about when I land on the other side and really get that sense of concrete stability that I know myself and yourself and a lot of us out here are really working hard to build. And I want to use that to transition a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about impact. So I'd like to actually ask you a question, if that's okay, to dive into that conversation.
Definitely, man.
So I want to ask you, what does impact mean to you, and what does it look like to you?
Well, really, impact, I think, is whatever you can have the most profound effect to others in a positive manner. So if you can help others, damn, that sounds scripted. Well, it's just off the top of my head, but
it was good. It was really smooth.
Everyone, we haven't discussed this prior. There hasn't been any questions discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, really, just it comes down to that way. If you can help others and you can impact their lives in one way or another, where it is with business or, just in a positive mindset in one way or another, then I think that's what impact is. And impact's so important. And that's why one of the things that I'm trying to build is, I guess, just add such a large online persona. Well, not persona because it's who I am, but I guess an online personal brand, because I want to help impact others' lives in a positive way. So I figured, well, shit, what's one great way to do that? And like the Facebook Live that we're doing here, and then when I strip the audio and turn it into the online footprint project, people can listen to it on a different platform as well. And then you're getting two forms of exposure to your business. And then, download this and put it on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And then there's a third exposure for it. And also, it's something that I'm enjoying doing. It's been great chatting to you. So I think if you can...
Thanks, man.
Impact, it's with impact, it's more about, how you can help others or help a lot of people directly, or indirectly even, just helping a lot of people, whoever you can. I mean, impact's, I think, really important, and especially coming down to business for those that, aren't building a personal brand, but they've got their businesses, they're solopreneurs, or they might have one or two, staff members or a virtual assistant, whatever. You need to be able to impact your clients' lives. Otherwise, you're not going to have clients, because word of mouth is a massive driving force for business to move forward. I was having a chat with someone just the other day who basically came across a business. He builds websites as well, because I build websites. He builds websites, and I was asking him for advice because I'm always trying to learn new things and really trying to, just grow as a person. And he said that he came across a client or a lead there that they said no to his website because they just spent $90K on their previous website, and they didn't feel that his website for $5K was going to be worth it. And I was like, dude, where are you finding these people that are willing to spend 90 grand on a website? And he looked into it a bit more, and it was a shitty website. So, no doubt that 5, 10, 15 grand,
obviously
you could have made an immaculate one. Yeah, well, that's it. If they were happy with it, they would have kept it. And in the comments on that there, because it was, someone made a post and then we started chatting off there. Someone had commented in the post from the original one that someone had come across a $500,000 website. I was like, God damn, so Amanda says, I need one of those.
Some of them have like in-depth security databases or in-depth databases that they need to keep secured. So with some of them, I definitely understand it, but
absolutely.
With some of these
there's a reason for
5-page
some of them.
websites where it's like, hey, we're just going to tell you how to contact us. It's like, oh, maybe not.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's really what we kind of gone a bit off topic there, but that's exactly what I mean. So so do you want to we'll dive into you're starting up a new program for what is it, early stage entrepreneurs? Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Because I think my phone battery is about 15%, so we'll probably use this as the last stone of the conversation.
Sure, and I just want to shout out
on you.
And I just want to shout out Amanda's comments and websites don't even need to be complicated. So if at any point you've heard us randomly interrupt, this is kind of more for the podcast listeners, but if at any point you kind of hear us randomly interrupt and veer off topic really rapidly, we have been following along with comments along on this this thread. So I just want to make sure we're not completely spazzes, at least me, maybe occasionally a little bit, but yeah, so
at least
we're following along with some comments. Amanda, websites can actually, a good website is, oftentimes relatively simple, has good design, is set up to convert, and pretty straightforward. So the program that I have going on, and I think I actually have it right over here. So let me just
what we'll do at the very end of this as well, we'll drop all the links in the comment section so that everyone can actually check out the links below.
Should I wait for that? I have it ready to... Oops.
Yeah, man, if you can do it now, go for it. If you're on your laptop, then that make it heaps easier, because on my phone, my limit is minimal. There we go, cool.
So I think I just dropped it. And so
I can see that.
The program is basically a business development program. It's for early stage entrepreneurs. If you've already started your business, this is likely not the program for you. It's basically for early stage entrepreneurs, creatives, self-motivated types of individuals who are curious about starting a business, who are curious about creating a remote business, who are curious about living a location-independent lifestyle, who want to have a sense of freedom and control over their own time and manage their own life design. I will not be creating a business for these people. These people will be put into an environment where they'll be crafting their own business idea and going through a process of a live course and an open Q&A, a little bit of a mastermind feel at times. And it'll be 4 weeks long. And each week it'll be a 1-hour session. And then we'll basically hang out. Each week we'll have a focused theme. The first week will be like core values and strengths and helping people identify their, introducing them to the ideas of market research and how to validate your business idea. And then from there, how to craft your offer out of knowing your audience, etc. And then from there, we'll dive a little bit more into copywriting theory, some advertising theory. Cool. And then I'd have to glance at my notes again and see, because there's different ways that I can break that down. I think there's probably going to be like a marketing theory, and then there's also probably going to be like some coverage on sales, and then there's also going to be some probably like a walkthrough of Facebook ads interface. So
cool. So it's pretty extensive.
It's basically, yeah, I mean, I'm going to basically try and jam pack as much as I can into these sessions for these people. I want them to have a ton of, not a ton, but I want them to like walk out of this and feel like, wow, I feel more equipped to move forward with my idea. And in fact, now I actually know what my idea is.
Cool.
And so
nice.
the wait list is the link that I shared in the comments. And so basically, if you check out that page, it's pretty simple. If you scroll down, there's some video testimonials, etc. And from my last time doing the program, and you'll be able to leave your name and your email there, and everything's privacy guaranteed. So at the right time, I will reach out through email and let people know that we're opening up the program. It's a $97 investment. I really want to make sure that it's accessible for people.
Yeah, that's cheap.
I mean, yeah, it's more about people getting into the program and actually being able to start what they're doing rather than trying to just get all the money on the front end.
Well, it's a dinner for two. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you're going to get that much value out of it, it's an investment, and it's a dinner for two. So I think that's actually a really good price point. That's going to open up to a lot more people, so you can actually help a lot more rather than pricing it, significantly more. So that's awesome. And everyone that's tuning in, if you're on the replay, the letter R, please type in #TeamR, because we'd love to know that you've watched this on the replay. So that way, if you have any further questions, we can, reach out, or if you want to message us, and we can definitely help out. Elisha's been, just a pro at this. So I really appreciate his time.